Okay, let's get into some basic equipment that I'm choosing to start with. Like I said before, got a Macbook Pro here with fade-in software for the writing, Adobe Audition CC for the mixing and mastering, and then what I picked up right off the bat was a Zoom H5 for field recording and for all the recording actually. And it's going to be recorded in the Zoom and then uploaded into Adobe. The Sennheiser MKE 600 shotgun mic, the MZH 600, which is the fur windshield for the MKE, and then a carrying case for the H5 so you could actually wear it doing recording in the field. Don't have a good set of headphones yet, but I'm going to get them soon. A couple iPhones, which you'll always need. And then, so repurpose this case, right, for the equipment. So you got the fur windscreen, short XLR. Oh, I also picked up a cheap Rockville boom stand for the mic. It's got the XLR already wrapped around it and wrapped around the bottom, so you don't have to mess with it at all. It's already fixed on it. It's really cheap. It's not very sturdy. I think it was only like $30 or $20. It was pretty cheap. The reason being, both because I needed it to test, but also for some of the field recording that I want to do, I'm going to have to set it up somewhere. I don't have a grip yet for the shotgun mic. I do have a shock mount. And then you have obviously the regular windscreen. Then the Sennheiser MKE 600, which is the mic I chose to go with. I listened to a bunch of tests between mics just from YouTube. I'm probably still going to pick up a few more mics. Probably going to have a condenser. I am pretty pleased with the sound of the shotgun, even for dialogue. Initially, it's for field recording, sound effects recording, all of that. But I've listened to a lot of tests where they pit condenser mics versus shotgun mics in a studio setting in a well-prepared room for dialogue, and I actually like the sound of the shotgun as opposed to the condenser. But I'm probably going to get a couple more mics and see how that goes as the pre-production process continues. Some other various cords, some batteries, and then the Zoom is in the back here. It comes with its own case, but obviously, I mean, this is great if you're going to throw it in your backpack or something, but it's not really sufficient for carrying it around. I went with the Zoom H5 because obviously the H6 is the latest out, but I think that's overkill for what I need. It's the same preamps between the H5 and the H6. The difference being the larger color display, and it's got 4 XLR inputs in the H6, where the H5 only has 2, I'm never gonna need 4. I'm actually pleased with the microphones. Initially I thought I wasn't gonna use these microphones at all, because I think this was like $269. So if you're getting a field recorder for under $300, where the most of the meat of the recorder is in the preamps, the circuitry, the recording aspect of it, you got to figure these are probably like $50 microphones then is all you're going to include on as a module on top of the recorder, because you're buying the recorder. It just happens to come with mics. But when I did ambient and room tests and some sound effects testing, where I ran, I used both the H5 stereo mics and the MKE on the same sound. I was actually impressed. I really like the stereo aspect of it for ambient sounds. And it wasn't as loud. I expected it to have a higher noise floor and it to be just all around more tinny and a lot thinner than the MKE, because this is a $300 microphone just by itself. But I was actually impressed, and part of that is probably because of the interface that I'm using through Adobe, through regular consumer headphones. I'm sure you would be able to tell a difference if you ran the meters out and if you had high-end monitors, but I'm only making this up to a certain level. Like I said, I want the quality good enough to where the quality doesn't detract from the project at all, but it only has to be good enough that the average audience member, which is not a sound designer and sound engineer, thinks it's good quality or doesn't notice any difference in the quality between that and other pieces. And I was happy with this, so what I might actually use the mics on it for some of the sound effects and the ambient recording. I did a flight, one of the flights I took it on, I recorded the takeoff, landing, some flying time.
Ladies and gentlemen, in preparation for landing, we're going to come through the cabin to collect any remaining service items. Also, please ensure that all seats and trays in the upright position and your seatbelts are securely fastened.
And I was actually very pleased. So for things like that, where I'm going to actually travel to certain locations where I'm going to want to stay traveling as light as possible, I'll probably just take this because that's for ambient sounds anyway. You know, I'm going to, fields at night, highways, traffic passing. The stereo is, you really want that stereo effect. I thought about buying 2 of these, building a mount to cross them in a stereo fashion and plug them into the XLRs, which that's a possibility. If I tend to notice a difference between the mics, I might get 2 short shotguns and build a rig so I can use them in conjunction in stereo. But that's only if I notice a difference. When I start going around and recording more, I am going to be, because in this you can record up to 4 tracks. So the built-in stereo mics use tracks 1 and 2. And then this is mono, obviously. So if you use it by itself, it just duplicates to 1 and 2. But I could use this as 3 or 3 and 4, and this at 1 and 2, and I'll record everything in tandem so I get all tracks on, and then I'll listen and notice what the difference is, where this one really weighs out, where the stereo weighs out, and if I start to notice a change, then I might just buy 2 mics, build a rig. So I still want that stereo effect for things like room sound, and just the background noise of the location is pretty important, I think. I also built this handy dandy case for the MKE for traveling. It's all foam lined, right? And so it's pretty shockproof. I'm impressed with what I built. The problem is you don't want to take this on an airplane for obvious reasons. So it's great if you're just going to throw this and this in your backpack like I might do, like when I'm going into buildings, trying to basically guerrilla style get sound effects and ambient noise in different locations without lugging around what looks like a bunch of audio equipment. But it's not recommended for taking on an airplane because it obviously looks like a pipe bomb. But that's basically it. That's the equipment that I've started with. Like I said, I'm gonna add to it. I'm gonna get some monitors. I'm gonna get a good set of headphones, probably Sennheiser as well. I've been trying to review a bunch, and that's what a lot of people like. Cost, okay. So the Zoom H5 was, I believe, $269. I don't know if that was a sale or not, but that's probably what they run. The MKE 600 was $299. I believe it came with the fur windscreen. I know it obviously came with this one. It may have come only with this one. I may have bought this one separately. I don't really remember to be honest. This is the cheap shock mount. It's China made, probably $10, $12. But it's going to be sufficient for what I need. I'm going to build a gun out of it to use for field recording, for sound effects or location recording. Like I said, the boom was $30 or something pretty cheap. I had XLRs before. I had some equipment prior for shooting film. So I've got a 50-foot XLR that's currently set up on the boom. I think this is a 6-foot. I think for field recording, it's 5 or 6 foot. Always have batteries handy when you're going. And the MacBook was a 2016 with touch bar. I think it's like $1,700 or $1,800, and then Adobe Audition, Creative Cloud's $53 a month for all the Adobe apps, and the fade-in was $79. And I think that's what I'm all in at right now for starting this process and getting it going.